Okay, welcome, early birds. We're going to be waiting a few minutes for everyone to join. So hang tight and we'll get going no later than 5 after the hour,
Sooner.
ideally sooner. We've got an external person. Okay. So for everybody who's already on, we will be recording this and we'll be getting started in another minute or two. Okay, it looks like we have quorum. My name is Richard Beeson. I am the MC and the official slide advancer for this meeting or for this presentation. And at this point, I will introduce our speakers, Chris Hickman and David Kathan. Go ahead, Chris, and take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Beeson. Welcome, everyone. For everybody on the call, Collaborative Utility Solutions is a nonprofit 501c6 organization designed to help provide solutions to the utility industry that can be broadly collaborated on and hopefully significantly reduce the cost of the solutions as we move forward. The first major initiatives that we have undertaken is a nonprofit DER registry and helping support consistent DER policy through the implementation of either 2222 or just new DER policy within a state, and have been supporting a variety of commissions and just helping them in their dockets provide information, as well as working heavily with the Department of Energy in this initiative and in this effort. The chair of our advisory board needs no introduction, Mr. David Kathan, who was obviously instrumental in developing and getting FERC Order 2222 actually established within the United States. And David has been working with us for the last couple of years to now begin to help on the support and implementation side of this initiative. Today, we are going to be talking about an effort that Joe Palladino at DOE has spearheaded in support of NARUC, with Jim Ogle and Chris Clausen to help us be able to track what is happening from a policy perspective with FERC Order 2222 and other states not subject per se to 2222 without an ISO or an open market structure, tracking DER policy across all 50 states to attempt to help in this process. So this is a DOE-sponsored project. Mr. Beeson, next slide. But as with any contractor to DOE, the opinions that end up being expressed here are ours and ours alone, and does not necessarily reflect those specifically of DOE or PNNL. We always have to have the disclaimer for these projects. So we have the thought process fundamentally of working and getting awesome collaboration. We are enjoying working with the VPP Liftoff team and a host of other organizations with DOE to help aggregate and collect information to be able to share effectively. But again, disclaimer: this you can't blame DOE for anything that Chris says. Um, but David, I don't know. We can blame David for everything else. So, next slide. So this initiative, and just for the record, if anybody has questions, please just raise your hand or feel free to unmute yourself and interrupt. We'd be happy to take questions as we move through. We are going to briefly go through this presentation and talk to you about what the initiative is, what's happening with the initiatives, and the different aspects of what we will be delivering over the next couple of years. But beyond that, we will open up the new website, FERC2222.org, and we will be able to talk through a little bit of that structure. Richard will be here to be able to answer any smart questions around the technology or anything going on. One thing that I do want to make note of is that we have found that the world is getting more and more secure. And while we have done all of the things with Microsoft and Azure to register and become a safe site and do everything else, we have been told by both DOE and 2 or 3 utilities, no commissions yet, but a couple, 2 or 3 utilities, that they were required to ask their IT group to whitelist the site before they had access to it. So just FYI, if you get some kind of a weird message, it is because there is a lockdown on the service, and you will need to ask your IT group to whitelist the FERC2222.org website for you to be able to access from within your corporate structure. Did I say that right, Richard?
That made sense to me. Yes, that was perfect.
All right.
Good job.
All right. So this initiative has 6 major elements. We're going to be producing a bi-monthly report. In the alternating months, we are going to host a webinar. The fundamental backbone of the initiative is the policy tracker that we will be presenting on the website for everybody to be able to gain access to everything that's going on and make it searchable and make the content easy to access. And then we will create white papers along the way. We are going to enable discussion groups for commission staff, and regulatory authority policymakers going forward, so they can discuss these issues. And then we are going to present a curated library of reports and documentation, starting with key DOE, NARUC, and NERC information as it relates to DERs. The library is not designed to be everything, but a curated list to try to say that we have spent a lot of time reading a lot of different things, and we're going to continue to work with everyone, and they are happy to give us requests to post documents, send us documents doing different things. And our team, in cooperation with DOE, NARUC, and NERC, will sort through those documents and try to provide the highest value ones up on the website in a bit of a curated library going forward. So that's a broad overview. I'm going to dig into each one of these topics a little bit more and explain what we will be doing. First of all, in the bi-monthly report, the general bi-monthly report that will start to come out will be comprised of three sections. We're going to have a current events section that basically says what's new, what's happening. Somebody has issued a ruling, somebody has opened a docket, somebody has made a decision. There has been a decision made by MISO or PJM or SPP or a different group around DERs. We will have a current events section that tries to keep current with everything that has happened since the last report. In each one of these reports, we will also dig a little bit deeper into key issue analysis. We've identified 11 key issues that were basically started out in the Grid Lab report that have been picked up by DOE, by NERC, by different groups. But fundamentally, there's kind of 11 key core things from metering, telemetry, governance, data access, and privacy that have been discussed in great detail. And we will dig into each one of those topics over the bi-monthly reports and be able to walk through example case analysis from either implementation or things that are happening around the industry and provide an additional background set of information about how different things are being handled in different places. And so each report will dig heavily into one of these key issues and kind of a full history, current state, and possible future states that we will be looking at to deal with that specific issue. Inside of each report will also be a bit of a tracker tips and highlights. Again, what has happened? Why don't you try to search on this? Click on this search item, and we will basically be giving tips and highlights that fundamentally help show you how the tracker would work to go dig deeper on the current news and events. So fundamentally helping people with the search engine to show them how they get to different places over time. And it should be relatively straightforward, but again, providing these ideas and tips and highlights just makes it easier for everyone if everything is front and center there. All of these reports will be posted to the library, and the first two reports will be slightly different. The first report that was released in September that's already posted is the overview of this initiative. The November report is going to be a bit of an overview that David is setting up to talk about a little bit of the history of since FERC 2222 was passed, kind of everything that has happened up until now, providing kind of a summary of that information. And then from this point forward, we'll obviously be doing current events. So he'll bring us from inception to today in this first report, or then the second report that will be released in November. And then in addition to that, we will also attack the first key issue, which is data access and privacy. So we will be hitting that as the first key issue in the November report. So that is basically what's going to be happening on the bi-monthly reports structurally. The first two will be a little bit different as we launch the initiative and get everybody current. And then starting in January, you'll have the same consistent three section of current events, key issues and analysis, and the tracker tips and highlights. Next slide. The bi-monthly webinars will happen in the alternating months from the reports. Again, this summary of the previous month's report, any current events, be able to discuss those and provide a little bit of a discussion forum for the key issue from the last report. So we will dig into data access and privacy. So in the next webinar, We would expect people to have questions or thoughts, agreements, disagreements, different kinds of things around the key issue as it was presented with all of the information. So we will provide a discussion forum within the webinar as we talk about that previous month's report, being able to open up the dialogue for people to agree, disagree, talk about differently about how it might move forward, and create a forum in which within the webinar framework that we can actually open up that discussion and provide a broader context, hearing from all the brilliant stakeholders in our industry in terms of getting their insights as we roll forward. The first two webinars, again, like the reports, will be slightly different. This one is just basically an overview and really reaching out to everyone through this webinar, through our time at NARUC last week, reaching out to all of the commissions, all of the ISOs, and saying, "Hey, we need your help. This tool is going to be as good as everybody that reaches out to help us provide information to put into it." And so we'll be able to go through that effectively. This will immediately be followed, instead of bi-monthly, but just very rapid fire in December, being able to talk about the next monthly report and the things that are happening on December 12th as we move into the bi-monthly alternate trading timeline. So again, all of these recordings will be posted to the website so folks can have access to them if they can't make the date of the webinar. Everything will be posted up. Next slide. The website itself was released on November 9th in advance of NARUC. It has the core content mechanisms established in terms of being able to show the tracker, show the library, show the core content pieces, and begin the process of us adding more and more content over time. The release in January will launch the discussion forums for the policy groups, for commissioners, staff, NARUC, and DOE approved regulatory authorities. Again, we were asked to provide a secure discussion forum to allow policymakers to have open, candid discussion on key issues and the things that are happening there. So it is a restricted login required. Login will be restricted to things like state commissions or NARUC. But those discussion forums will kick off in January on the website. Next slide. And Mr. Kathan, are you taking over here?
I am taking over. Hi, David Kathan. Chris already introduced me. Just a little bit more background. I retired from FERC after 20 years.
1 second. Sorry to interrupt, David. It looks like there's a question from Aaron.
Sorry.
On your section that I didn't want to run past too quick. Aaron, do you want to unmute yourself? And
yeah, sorry, David, to trample on you.
No, you're not. We know Aaron. Come on, man.
Go back one page. Go back one slide. Yeah. So the discussion groups. I noticed you mentioned regulatory types. Where do? Oh, I see ISOs. So I was going to say, do ISOs and other market operators, they'll have their own group, or they'll have a group or they can participate in the policymaker group? I suppose the great unwashed, such as ourselves, will not be able to participate in those, yes?
So we are basically, and thanks for doing that, because I forgot to state that we are open to creating any additional discussion group. Right now, the fundamental piece that DOE asked us was to have this policy structured so that the ISOs and states and the policy groups can have, a forum which they can potentially help move things more quickly by having this open forum to have candid discussions. If there are other requests from other groups, like if aggregators want a discussion group to talk about particular topics, or all of like OMS, Organization of ISO States, If anybody wants to have a discussion forum to be able to put these things together, we are happy to entertain those if there are additional requests.
Great, thanks. Sorry,
Sure.
David.
No worries.
Good to hear your
So-
voice, man. It's been a while.
Sorry, I missed you, neighbor.
So as I was saying, is that I retired from FERC at the end of 22, and one of the main things I'm doing in private practice is to support this effort. And as Chris mentioned, I'm the chair of the advisory board for collaborative utility solutions. So I'm going to just walk through several of these slides. First one, a lot of the stuff is Chris has already kind of talked about, but I'm just going to dive into a little bit more detail. The policy tracker is the real one of the hearts of this website. And the idea is that this will provide a landing spot for anyone, not just state commissioners, but staff, but others to know and to see what are the key, issues, what are the key regulations or reports or whatever that really are focused on FERC Order number 2222 and DER policy. And the other objectives to facilitate collaboration so that the information's here and it's focused on these narrow issues such that if you want one-stop shopping, this is the website to go to. The actual policy tracker, there is a very nice searchable database of FERC, NERC, RTO, ISO, state, and also by key issue. But it's also searchable by a keyword also. So it is a very advanced database, and it will be updated at least monthly with help from internal search tools and crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing will be core to this. We are looking to get input and reaching out to all of the various state commissions, et cetera, in order to know what is happening. When is a filing coming in? When is there a new proceeding? So those are the things that we'll be making sure we're up to date on the policy tracker. Next slide, please. As Chris mentioned, in addition to the website, in addition to the bi-monthly reports, there will be a series of white papers that will be issued, not necessarily on the same, bi-monthly schedule, but through the course of the project, we will be issuing a separate set of white papers, which will also be available on the website. We've identified 3 at this point, and we're going to be issuing them in this order. First is a high-level examination of FERC Order number 2022 as an opportunity and to the industry, not just as a burden. It really will dig into all the things that it can unlock. The second is now to go just a step down into all of the implementation issues, and I'll be looking at those on a following slide of what are the real issues that will be required, especially at the state level, to implement the requirements that FERC put into Order 2222. And then a key issue in any of the Order 2022 implementation is coordination. Coordination between the aggregator and the EDC, and with the RTO, and between all 3. So we're going to be digging deep into that in a white paper. Additional white papers will be announced going forward, and as indicated, they will be available on the website library. Next slide, please.
David, we have a question from Thomas.
Sure, go ahead.
Thomas, if you unmute. Yep.
Sure. Yeah. Tom Chamberlain Energy. Good stuff so far. Hey, quick question on the policy tracker. I know you guys are building out the website over time, and you're not going to be a compendium with every single document in FERC Order 2222. So will that policy tracker pull documents from within your website as well as external sources as well? Thanks.
The answer is yes. In that sense, it will do both. Although we're not, it will hit the major items. We're not going to track all the various comments, for example, in a proceeding, but it will identify, a proceeding and link, provide external links to those proceedings. And if there are specific orders that come out of that, they will be added to the tracker. Hope that's an answer that you were looking for.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So next slide. So now we're on to discussion groups. So as Chris indicated, and I'm probably not going to spend much time on this slide because he did a great job of summarizing this. This will be released in the second version of the website, and this will be focused on, as a secure and free-form discussion for policymakers, and they're not going to be public. And users must register and be verified to participate. And there will be 11 discussion groups, one to cover each of the key issues, and one general for topics not related to key issues. As Chris has in response to Aaron's question, their policymakers may also request additional groups on specific topics or large functional groups. Next slide, please. So the key issues we developed, this is based on as Chris indicated, the Grid Lab report, but also just review of the various compliance filings and commission orders on Order 2222, but also the various proceedings on several states have opened up to discuss and determine what are going to be their roles on Order number 2022. They basically came up with 11 items. And I just wanted to kind of just spend a few moments on each one of these, and we're going to be working each of the bi-monthly reports will look at each of these in this order. The first one, as Chris indicated, will be data access and privacy, and those will be focused on the rules, policies, and tools enabling the ability of all stakeholders to have fair access to information about DERs and DER aggregations to effectively enable DERs for utility programs and RTO ISO market products. And as core to any of data access, we have to also consider issues of privacy to the access to that information. So rules and policies associated with that access, and especially cybersecurity, will also be associated and be accessed and discussed as part of that key issue. The second one is governance. Governance is another major issue, and that refers to issues focused on the legal ability of DER aggregators to operate in states and locations, including issues associated with registration, certification, and codes of conduct. Metering telemetry, another major issue. These are related to the rules for metering and measurement of DERs and aggregations, particularly the use of sub-metering and eventually settlement. Interconnection, another major issue. We'll look at the impacts of interconnecting DERs, and particularly the aggregation of DERs and how that affects distribution and transmission networks and any policies associated with that. Aggregation registration review is a core part of Order number 2222. As FERC indicated, all of the aggregations will be subject to a review by EDCs to examine and to identify concerns and issues associated with each of the DERs. So we're going to look at that in some detail. Dual registration and double counting, another major issue that was especially brought up, and a major issue brought up by FERC, and has been a major issue in a lot of the discussion on compliance, will be looked at to ensure that there is no double compensation for the same service being provided. Communications control for DERs. So looking into what are the specific protocols, what are the specific tools that are needed in order to actually interact with DERs to participation and aggregation. Another is just the communications between the EDCs, aggregators, and RTOs and ISOs. What protocols, what methods will be used in order to share information, and that's particularly critical as we move towards real time. Determine how is information that EDCs will need to send to aggregators, and then the aggregators, how will that be indicated to the RTO ISO that there may be an issue. So that's a core and important issue. Coordination, as I just alluded to in my discussion on communications, is going to be extremely important. How will all these parties work together I know that in particular, the MISO will be having a whole workshop on this in February, where they'll be looking at coordination between the RTOs and ISOs, distribution utilities, and the states. So clearly, it will be a major issue as we move forward. And since we're talking about regulation, we're talking about the participation and possible investments required to do these implementation of 2222, cost and investment recovery will obviously be an important issue to cover. And as Chris indicated, there will be other issues as come up, as coming from the interested parties from states may be added to this list. Next slide, please. And Chris, I think this goes back to you. Okay. In lieu of Chris being on, I will go.
Sorry. I was talking on mute. You'd think we'd be better at this by now, but so the library is pretty straightforward. It is a curated list of, let's call it most relevant or best practices documentation. Again, I want to be clear that this is not designed to be an exhaustive list. We are actually we have been very specifically asked not to, throw everything up on the wall, but to attempt to curate the best reports or the most relevant reports rather than all of the reports. And so we will be doing our best job and would appreciate everybody's help in this of saying we think this is definitively one of the better white papers or documents that has come out on any particular topic, and we can include that into the library, but it will be a curated list of the structured documents. Our initial focus is with DOE, NARUC, and NERC to make sure that people are aware of the content. Simple things like for governance, DOE commissioned a lot of work that was done for an aggregator code of conduct, a standard contract, things that can move you into the first phase without needing to define policy or different things, but having a methodology by which everybody agrees to participate in a positive way. The additional pieces from NARUC on their DER guide and policy implementation. We just want to make sure that the broader group of folks are aware of some great content that has been developed around these particular topics. The contact us structure will be available on the website for anyone to recommend content to be added to the library, to recommend content being taken down from the library is non-relevant. Whatever feedback that you might have on the website, we would love to hear. Next slide. So in summary, the website is live. If you have trouble accessing it, then give your IT group a call and say you're blocking a site that we need whitelisted. And on the last slide is when we move to that, Suzanne Bertin's email is there for any policymakers on the call, ISOs, or anybody that would like to have a monthly check-in with Suzanne to provide her additional information to get into the tracker. Please reach out to us. Please be on the lookout for DOE's addendum to the VPP liftoff report. We've been doing a lot of work with that team. They're doing great work. They are helping provide some context and structure in terms of a framework. The framework basically setting up the ability to talk about being able to walk, jog, run. As we mentioned prior with the aggregator code of conduct and then potentially a standard contract between utilities and aggregators, there are great examples of being able to start a process without either legislative action or in-depth regulatory action to dip your toe in the water to move forward, to try to start the walk and move to jog and run over time. So we will be helping get all of that structure into the liftoff report. It's going to be a great addendum to that already very informative report. Also, please be on the lookout for the next white paper coming from NERC. There is data collection, storage, sharing, privacy. While all of the NERC cybersecurity has been issued in those different pieces, the Spider Working Group is publishing another paper after the first of the year dealing with all of the data sharing and aggregation in terms of being able to help enable this. Both of those will be posted to the 2222.org website as they become available. The next webinar is on the 12th. Well, we will go through the next report and the first key issue. The discussion groups are coming soon, but again, if you are interested in them or you have different ideas on needing additional discussion groups that are open to public, if you have ideas on that versus the ones for policymakers, we are ears wide open and would love to hear from you if you would like a forum in which a particular group or a group of folks could have that discussion forum. Next slide. And finally, as we've mentioned before, a huge amount of this is about crowdsourcing the information. We set up this initiative, we've created the tools, we've enabled as much automation as possible to help in the collection of this, partnered with Internol to help be able to search things effectively and identify them with DOE NARUC to be able, and NERC to be able to source the information and stay in tune with those organizations. But ultimately with, 3,000 utilities, 9 ISOs, 54 state and district commissions or something, 56, there's going to be things that we're going to miss. And so largely the success of this initiative will be based on people helping us get the information for the tracker to make sure that things of relevant content are posted there. So I'm going to pause there for any questions while Richard brings up the website. Richard is going to walk you through a quick overview of the website and just show you the foundational structure of the website and where things are at. But again, if anybody has any questions right now, we can take those, or we'll just keep rolling with Richard walking through the website. Looks like you're on, Mr. Beeson.
And my camera's working too. Awesome. Fantastic. Thanks, you guys. We'll just do a quick survey of the site. Hopefully you all can see this. So we went live last week, and as Chris mentioned, most people are able to access except from some locked down domains. So if you're in an organization that's locked it down, see if they need to whitelist this site for you to access it from that location. If they whitelist it and you're still having problems, please get in touch with me or with us so we can track that down. We want this to be able to serve everybody. So this is the home site, or the home page, landing page. Basically, we try to highlight upcoming things, new reports, anything that's new should be coming up in this banner. We have our basic introduction and all of our disclaimers and stuff down here. So the sections that were mentioned, the policy tracker is active, and David and Suzanne and others have been working hard to get this populated. This uses basic searches around or filters around specific organizations, specific sites, or specific issues similar to the groups that we talked about. So these would be tagged with specific issues. And then you can also put in your favorite keyword if you want to know about everything that has to do with interconnection. And if you can actually spell, then you'd strip down your list to anything that talks about interconnection. Obvious, it should be pretty obvious, straightforward. Tried to make it that way. We talked about reports. We've got the original report here. As the bi-monthly reports show up, they'll be popped in here. Library, again, just a clearinghouse for curated items that we think are particularly relevant. The discussion groups is currently not live. That's something we're hoping to get fully live by January, and maybe in preview if we're lucky in December. If you are interested in being in a discussion group, this is where you declare your interest, and we'll get a record of that. We'll verify that you are from a participating organization, and then we'll be setting that up as soon as we can. And then lastly, if you have other issues, questions, comments, you can use the contact form and that'll get to us. And we definitely appreciate any input, feedback, especially if you're finding issues or things that need to be addressed. So that's really it. That's the high level. We'll be doing a bit of a deeper dive into some of this on the call on the 12th of December. Chris or David, was there anything else you wanted to say about this at this point?
Nothing for me.
Answer questions.
Yeah, Aaron, looks like Aaron's got his hand up.
I'm just full of questions or something today. So I think, David, when you were talking before, you said policymakers could suggest discussion groups. And I'm not sure if you meant that to be exclusively policymakers, but let's just say, for example, somebody wanted to suggest an aggregator discussion group, selfishly speaking. Could an aggregator make that request, or would it need to come from, I don't know, somebody else?
No,
and then I have another
sorry.
question.
We probably need to fix that in the presentation. Anyone can suggest a discussion group if they think that it would help this overall process. And so absolutely, Aaron, if you guys want to suggest an aggregator group, or if anybody has other ideas that they feel would help move this process forward effectively by having this shared discussion area, we'd be happy to look into that.
And thanks. That's good. The other thing, and I don't know if you could go to the slide that has the list of all the discussion groups. I'm kind of looking at a proxy of it. If you do the search on the policy tracker, I think most of them are in there, but if you could go to that slide, one of the things that we are,
that one?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't see it in here. So New York is kind of at the bleeding edge of this stuff because they're moving forward under a pre-Order 2222 DER initiative. And one of the things that we identified it in the proceeding, and it's coming home to roost now, has to do with market power and market mitigation issues. Does that have a home somewhere? And I guess maybe I was looking for a broader topic, sort of like market participation rules, because all of the ISOs, basically seem to be in the process of designing systems that are built like for generators, like capital G, big generators, because when the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. And so and that therein leads problems with telemetry and other things as well that we've talked about. But in terms of how you offer into the market, but particularly problematic, at least in the New York context, is market power, market mitigation. We've had some conversations with Potomac, and they recognize it as well, and nobody seems to have a good answer to it yet. So I think that's certainly one of the things that we would raise in that context, and that I think will likely be a yeasty topic for conversations, particularly amongst policymakers?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And again, any thought process of, hey, we think there is a bigger, broader issue that's applicable to all 50 states. We think this is what that issue is. Or even if it's, hey, this is a key issue, but it only applies to New York, that's fine as well. We can set these things up to be able to support and help on any one of those things. Obviously, the number one thought process for us is whatever issues that are affecting everyone holistically. But if there are specific issues for one ISO or one region or whatever, we would love to make those kind of float to the top, and we can actually add that as another discussion forum for that specific region or that specific state in terms of how that works. So ultimately, we want to make this as flexible as we can over the next couple of years, and be able to provide the forum in which people can talk about the biggest, broadest, keyest issues that are happening.
Great, thank you.
Other questions?
I don't see any hands, but I'm sure there are some burning questions. And I also learned a new word.
What is that?
Keyest.
What word did I? Yeah,
Keyest. Yes,
I said that out loud, and I was like,
yes.
yeah, that's not a real word.
The superlative of key. Keyer and keyest. Sorry.
Well, I have two questions that have been texted to me versus on the forum. So if nobody's hands are up, the first question again was can we suggest any group be added to the discussion groups, not one that is locked down but is more public? And the answer is yes, we can examine that. We do need to check with our sponsor with DOE and make sure that is okay. But again, the chat groups are relatively straightforward to set up. And so if DOE is okay with that, we will move forward. And the second question was around the 2222 as an opportunity, and can you provide more detail about that statement? Over the course of time, as we have engaged, we have started to see major opportunities emerge around this, in the sense that with 3,000 utilities, 9 ISOs, all the different state and district commissions, cooperatives, municipalities, IOUs, governmental entities in the utility structure, if there wasn't a burning need for us all to address this DER issue collaboratively, we would all be attacking it 100% ad hoc. As we are now with a policy directive being asked to work on it all at the same time, it provides immense opportunity to lower cost. One of those is the nonprofit DER registry, that structure of providing the capability of a shared data access platform that for like aggregators will no longer have to have APIs to 9 ISOs and 3,000 utilities, but one API, and be able to more effectively enable the market in that regard. Structurally, we're doing a lot of work with DOE on the registry in the sense of developing all of the SIM-based APIs, the Common Information Model-based APIs, to interact directly with all existing utility systems, CIS, GIS, ADMS, DERMS, EMS, across the board, so that all of the DER information can come into distribution planning and transmission planning, EMS systems, and be available without software interface, so that all of the existing utility systems can use the data. There are other things like common meter authorities. Ontario, the province of Ontario has a spectacular example of all of the utilities take care of their metering. They have their head-ends, but it feeds only one master system for the province of Ontario, and everybody hits that for billing and settlement and the ISO. So everybody has access to the same set of data, and it dramatically reduced all of the different utility costs to have that one system on call it a common meter authority for the state. Texas did this very poorly, where Ontario did it well. They created a secondary system that was a mirror of everybody else's system, so fundamentally doubled the cost instead of lowering the cost. So there are great opportunities going forward here, and our first paper will highlight that, and that is the information that was provided there. And I don't have any more text, so are there any additional questions that we can cover today?
Looks
All right.
like we're good. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, David. As noted, this is recorded, and if you want to share it with any of your colleagues or revisit any of this, you'll be able to find a link. Actually, as participants, you should receive an email with a link, but we'll also be posting a link to this recording from the website as well.
Well, thank you all very much for being here with us today. On behalf of Collaborative Utility Solutions, DOE, we thank you for your participation. Look forward to working with you all to make this a functional and usable tool to help us move forward. Have a great day.
Thanks.